Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves. I'm your host, Ike, and before you get too sucked into this awesome interview, do us both a favor and like, subscribe, and share this amazing piece of entertainment because I am here with the one, the only, Aaron Mansell!
Hello.
Say hello, Aaron.
Hello.
How are things?
Pretty good, just going through life right now.
How's the scenery? Is it pretty amazing?
Yeah, it is, just got through the holiday season, which was stressful, I'm sure, as for most people it is. So, yeah, it's good to restart school again.
Woo! All right, well, before you restart school and we get too far into this podcast, I've got one question that needs to be answered.
Okay.
What is your favorite dad joke?
Okay. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I eat mop.
I eat my poo. The best part is I didn't get it until I actually said it. Like, I didn't run headlong into the wall and then play that off.
Yeah.
I am literally just oh.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Well played. All right. Going from that hilarious highbrow humor, what is your favorite underutilized word, Aaron?
That would probably be acquire. I feel like it's super versatile. You can use it in a lot of different instances. I mean, it has a lot of different meanings as well. So it's pretty commonly used in my vocabulary.
For instance, I am acquiring your time right now.
Yes, you are.
Sort of. Yes? Yeah. I'm definitely acquiring the viewer's patience. So, without any further ado, what is your biggest everyday temptation?
My biggest everyday temptation. I'd probably say donuts. It sounds weird,
Ooh.
But I was
No, it does not. It sounds right as rain.
Yeah, I had a donut addiction as a child, which caused me, as you might assume, to be very plump for a long time. So I can't keep any sort of donut or bread sweet in the house anymore because I'll eat the whole thing.
As you should. This is America, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
All right, so what donut? I don't want to stir up your, I don't want to stir you up too much here, but what donuts are we talking here? What's the go-to? If there's a plate, which one's the first to get snacked?
Definitely chocolate with sprinkles, like rainbow sprinkles. So chocolate icing, rainbow sprinkles, or donut holes. That's kind of my happy medium right now if I do choose to still go to the donut shop, because then it's I'm not eating a whole donut technically. I'm just eating a lot of little ones, so it's okay.
I didn't have a whole donut, doctor. I had 50, a tenth of a donuts.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
So do you have we both live in Los Angeles. Do you have a go-to place when you just can't hold yourself back anymore?
Ooh, probably either SK's Donuts, so right off of 3rd and Hauser, I believe, or Cochrane, or Maggie's Donuts off of La Brea and San Vicente. And Maggie's Donuts is great because it's more would you say bready, and I love a good bready donut. I don't like those that are too overly sugary or I'm not a huge fan of Krispy Kreme because of that. Krispy Kreme is too much sugar. Yeah. Too much sugar, not enough bread. The ratio has to be there. So
Erin's a businesswoman. She's all about that bread.
Yes.
Have you been to Piffle? Mochi Nut?
I have not.
It's got the same consistency as mochi, which I think is a sweet bread, all out of Japan. And it's I would recommend looking it up if you're feeling imbibing. It's they're shareable. Not that anybody would. It's kind of like how Twix are shareable. Like, yeah, sure they
Oh,
are. Said nobody who shared it with anybody ever.
yeah.
But it's like 8 little like mochi balls around that are like connected.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just bread ball, like sweet bread balls, but they're like connected and flavored. So you could, in theory, break it apart and give everybody like their own little donut hole,
Oh,
and or just eat all of them to yourself. They are tremendously good.
said mochi nut.
Would recommend if you're making bad decisions. Yeah, I believe that's what it's called. Let's see. I think so.
I will definitely look into that.
Did I get
That
that
sounds
right?
very
Yeah,
good.
mochi nut. There's a handful of them. I am in K Town, so I think that's where basically all of them reside.
Yeah.
But yeah, mochi nut. Highly recommend to anybody listening to this that's passing through LA, or Erin if she wants to make a bad decision. Now, not that anybody channel surfs anymore, but if you were to channel surf, or you find
Ooh.
yourself scrolling through Netflix or Amazon or HBO Max
Mm-hmm.
or The Mouse House, what movie will you never skip by and have to at least watch for a moment, if not the whole darn thing?
Ooh, probably White Chicks. That's like one of my favorite movies of all time that I will watch over and over again. And the jokes never die. They're so funny. Like even though you know exactly what he's about to say, it's like it means nothing. Like,
Hold my
it's still
poodle.
funny. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's the best.
Yeah.
Nothing like some good old whiteface. All right, so it never gets old. It really doesn't. There is no future that I can imagine existing where whiteface is ever going to be one of the things we look back on like, wow, that was a bridge too far. No, it's
Yeah.
never going to happen. It's always going to be timeless. It's going to be perfect.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Growing up, what was your favorite book?
Ooh, favorite book. I vividly remember liking where the last of the really great Wang Doodles, which I remember my elementary school fifth grade teacher read to us, and I like searched for
I'm
like
sorry. Can you
years.
say that title again? The
uh,
what now?
the last of the really great Wang Doodles, and like it's weird. It's like a children's like chapter book, and funny enough, it's written
That's
by
awesome.
Julie Andrews. Uh,
Oh, awesome.
So it's like I think it's
That's
one of her few
fantastic.
books, but very good.
Yeah. That from title alone, I am intrigued. I'll definitely have to find that and give that a browse. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Now, God forbid, if you had to evacuate your house, what's the first non-living thing you'd grab and make sure got rescued to safety?
Ooh, non-living. Um,
Yeah, we're gonna go with the vast assumption that the dog that we can hear slightly kicking around just outside of frame would scurry to safety.
yeah. I'd say I'm kind of like a hoarder of memories, like memory trinkets. So I keep a box of like
Mm.
wristbands from concerts or like movie tickets or like brochures and things from like adventures that I've been on. So I would probably take that with me.
I don't know why, but I just imagine that you had a bunch of like brochures from houses that you could never buy, but were like, this place is dope. And you're like, just like, oh, I gotta save these.
No, I'm not that bad.
All right. So what's like one of the favorite concert wristbands you think you have for memories or for the music that was played?
Most recently, I've been going to raves more often. So my first ever rave I went to was in August, and it was the Beyond Wonderland Festival in San Bernardino, uh,
Oh yeah.
which is, I mean, it's insane. Even if you're not into like rave music or whatnot, like the way they build
So it
out
lived up
these
to the title.
sets, like yeah, it's insane. It's like I literally just sat there like looking at all the displays. It's so cool.
And mom, that's not just because of the drugs. It
Yes.
was actually that amazing.
Yes, it really is.
That's really cool. Who is like one of your favorite acts that was playing that day?
I believe it was Tiesto.
Ooh,
He
nice.
plays in almost all of them. Or
Yeah.
what is the other one? Not David Guetta, but yeah, I can't think of the other one.
You said that like one of the titular characters in Mean Girls talking about something that was out of vogue. Not David Guetta. Clearly could not have been.
Like, does he even
It
perform
wasn't
anymore?
disdain. It was just like there's no way I'd be caught dead listening to that old that old guy.
I can do better. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. I'm not so lowly to listen to get. It's like the way like white guys talk about Macklemore now. They're
Yeah.
just like, I don't listen to them. Like they've dropped it like some old sock. They're just like, no, well, that wasn't me. That was never this guy. Come on.
Oh goodness.
We
Yeah.
all liked him for like 5 years. Some
Oh,
of us still do
100%.
because yeah, we don't know how to grow up. What comes to mind when I say underrated?
Mm. Are you talking like something specifically that I think is underrated? Or just
Just
the
whatever
word
pops in your mind
underrated?
when I say underrated.
Hmm. What's underrated?
Other than David
Oh,
Guetta, what comes in your mind when I say underrated?
so there is this, I'm big into food, okay? I think that's a theme for tonight. But there's this taco truck on La Brea and Olympic called El Chato, and it
Hmm.
is hands down the best Mexican food I've ever had in my entire life. And I go to Mexico fairly often. So like I've had straight out of Mexico Mexican food,
You
and
know of what you speak.
it's so good. And I've had Mexican food all over LA too, and this is it. But because it's only at that location late at night, I think it's from like 7 to 2 a.m. on
Oh yeah.
Tuesday through Sunday or something like that. That's
Hmm.
so not a lot of people know about it, but it's
Yeah.
the best Mexican food I've ever had, hands down.
Sweet. It's kind of like to pull us back to where we both went to school prior. There was this place in Monterey called Nacho Business. Fantastic name. And they were only open 3 days a week for 8 hours collectively on those 3 days. It was
Yeah.
like such a small time frame on every day. And it was like, all right, I have to try it just because of just scarcity. I'm just so intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up finally getting there one of the days they were actually open for more than an hour or whatever. Went in there and it was truly tremendous. It was fantastic. Some of the best nachos, if not the best nachos I've ever had. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like something about scarcity just dials up that awesome-o-meter. It cannot be overrated how good scarcity is for a product. It's fantastic. It really makes you enjoy it just that much more.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I remember there was a soul food place too in Monterey, and it was only open on Fridays, like from like I think noon to 6. Only Fridays. Oh, it was so good too. It's like it
I
definitely
love
makes it
places like
better.
that are able to somehow stay open for
Yeah.
years on end.
Yeah.
It's like how? What drug company are you funneling money for that like you're able to stay open for like these irrelevant amount of hours and still somehow pay for, rent of a decent area in coastal California? Like how do you do it?
Yeah. That's how good it is. Like everyone
Yeah.
just flocks to them that one day, and that's a week's worth of patrons.
They have their like what is it? Oh, what's that place in North Dakota, like Sturgis or whatever like that? They have
Mm-hmm.
their Sturgis day a month or a week or whatever like that, where they just like fill up their poppers and they're like, all right, we're good to go. We don't need to work for 6 more days.
Yeah.
That's me if I ran a business. Okay, cool. We cleared rent. I'm out. You guys do whatever. Did you ever? Okay, so big fan of Mexican food. We live here in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic Mexican food. You've gone to Mexico and experienced great Mexican food. How do you feel about San Diego Mexican food compared to Mexico and compared to LA?
I think the one place I've only been to San Diego so many times, and I think I've only had Mexican food there once actually. But the one place I did go to was pretty good. It was just down the street from a friend of my boyfriend's house, and we walked to it, and he said, like, it was great. I can't even remember what I got. It was either like taquitos or something random, but I just remember it being really good. But definitely, I think LA Mexican food is probably the best.
It's
We have the
tough.
best hidden gems, I think.
Do you have a favorite industry secret or a term that's only used in your line of work that you just enjoy to no end?
Secret word. Um, I'm not sure. I feel like if you don't work in my specific area, I'd say, I think a lot of the things we discuss may not be super familiar with people. Like creating I don't know, like one sheet or like a pitch deck or um like a writer's director's list or um
I
yeah,
think pitch deck
development
is
deck.
definitely the
Yeah.
most secret sounding. So, how would you describe a pitch deck to a mere muggle sitting at home listening and not knowing the magic that goes on behind the camera?
Yeah, so essentially a pitch deck is a built out version of a either a feature or series that you are trying to pitch to a buyer. So whether that be a production company you're trying to bring in with you on the project, or a studio, or selling it to a network, you're building out a visual, I guess, interpretation of your series or feature. So I've been working in TV primarily for the last year. And so many of the pitch decks I've been able to work on are all series development. So in that deck, we would show like essentially what the pilot episode is about, like who are these main characters that we're going to show in the series, where are they from, we're going to show what happens to these characters over the course of the first season, and even discuss a little bit about how their journeys change over the course of the next few seasons. Because a lot of networks want to see longevity when they buy these series
Hmm.
decks. So, uh, yeah, that's pretty much what a pitch deck is, just showing the entirety of a story, whether that be a feature film or a series.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like it.
Is there a piece of advice you've gotten over the years that has made like the biggest impact on you?
Yeah, actually. I got this from Chris Carpenter, who, as you know, is kind of like our program manager,
Carp.
overhead seer, but right.
Slave driver,
Yeah.
whipmaster.
Yeah, no, he's genuinely a great guy. He changed my life a lot when we were in undergrad, but he
For the
essentially
better?
told me one day, yeah, yeah, for the better, like immensely. And I remember one day it was like toward the end when we were about to graduate, and he told me, as you're going into, the field, you want to be a producer, especially as a woman, like not everyone's going to take you seriously. And he's like, that's annoying and it shouldn't happen, but it's going to happen,
Hmm.
So one piece of advice I could give you is never apologize. He's like, never say I'm sorry. He's like, as women, we are raised to just automatically have that notion of saying sorry for everything. You bump into someone, sorry. Like you do something,
Hmm.
oh sorry, I didn't mean to. Oh sorry, did you see that? We say sorry for everything, and men aren't raised to do that. Um, so he says, as you go into career, he's like, I know you want to go into the corporate level. He's like, I know you're going to be extremely successful, and you not saying sorry kind of helps assert your dominance in the setting, and it doesn't give
Hmm.
those male counterparts the opportunity to diminish you or to see you as someone weak. And honestly, that's been like life changing. Like at first I was like, oh, that's interesting. Never say I'm sorry. But there's ways to say that, like, I apologize or I'm sorry without actually saying it. And it doesn't diminish who you
Mm.
are, it
Okay,
doesn't
yeah.
diminish your power,
Yeah.
but it still clarifies the situation, like, oh, I fucked up. Or I don't know if I'm allowed to curse,
Yeah.
but like, yeah. So,
No, yeah. Say what's on your mind, however which way you want to say it.
yeah. But yeah, that's been life changing.
That was gonna be my follow up question. Thank you for clarifying that because I was like, well, if you're never like kind of in any way owning up and stuff like that, that seemed kind of dangerous and a little scary there for a second, but not specifically doing it in a way that doesn't It sounds like you're basically making sure your word choice, it's not what you're conveying, it's how you're conveying it that like
Mm-hmm.
seems to matter the most. If I'm
Exactly.
picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome and kind of a little sad and scary that our world is so I think I'm using this word right, codified into, you need to make sure you say these types of things versus these types of things because of the kind of ramifications and the, energy and like the kind of tone that it puts upon you and puts upon other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It sucks. But we're
Yeah.
moving toward better, I'd like to say. Or I'd like to think.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty clear that we are. I'm of the opinion, I guess, and from the information I've seen, I do think the world is getting better, albeit
Mm-hmm.
weirder sometimes, but generally better.
Yeah. Definitely weirder.
Do you have a favorite little known factoid?
That like a random fact that I just know.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, elephants can die of a broken heart, and
I know. It's
like
so
they have their own
sad.
graveyard. So when they know they're gonna die, they go
Yep.
back to the exact same place. Like that's insane.
Yeah. It is. Elephants are way too like most other animals. They are way too good for us.
Yes.
But yeah, it's they feel more than most of us ever will, which is sad in a million different directions. But yeah, they have graveyards that they when they know they are sick and going to die or mortally wounded, they try to head towards.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like bananas.
Mm-hmm.
Just to like conceptualize, like if you were like feeling sick, like I need to go back home and just like trundled off, it's just nuts.
Yeah.
Um, they can die of a broken heart if a loved one dies in
Mm-hmm.
like some kind of weird, sad, painful way. The other one that's nuts is they will go to the elephant graveyards to mourn.
Yep. Yep.
It's
Same
like
as us.
it's so heartrending that they do the same thing that we do, that certain people do at like graveyards and stuff like that. They'll go back and see a loved one and just be like, remember them, and it's beautiful, but at the same time, like, yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're such emotional creatures.
yeah. It's and they can paint too. That's a
I've
nutso one. As I
seen
remember seeing
that.
this on 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
There's an elephant that can paint, and it does better than anything I will ever attempt to do in my whole entire lifetime.
Yeah.
It is nutso butso. Fill in the blank for me. This weekend was so great. I spent 13 hours.
Watching Game of Thrones. That's literally what I've been doing for like the last week.
All right, I guess we're gonna have to get into this. One, have you watched the series already, or is this the first time through?
Oh no, I've seen it already, but I've only seen it one time through.
Okay, so this is going for this is two times.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the point that the show kind of breaks for you, where you go, oh, okay, and you like start to see the writing on the wall? It makes you feel not good. Are you one of the few that enjoys it, from tip to tail? Is there a moment where you kind of like distance yourself like a curler from the rock? What's your how do you kind of feel about it? There is so much hubbub and blubber blabber about that great show.
Yeah, I think the okay, so when I first like binge watched it before it ended, I didn't think it was that great of a show. I mean I
Mm-hmm.
fully saw their story arc and how only the first, the sixth, and the ninth episodes were the most impactful in the season, and then the rest of them were kind of boring. So I understood, sorry. So I understood like the structure. I think now
Mm-hmm.
that like I'm in grad school for like producing and like kind of like the corporate side of uh film and entertainment, I understand why they do that, or why there are these certain episodes that seem like more actiony or seem like they have more of a story arc or more things happen in it. So I think in that sense I understand it more because I know like for each season a series gets a budget, and they get to choose how exactly to
Yeah.
split that budget per episode. So if they have like a fight scene that's going to cost them like
Yeah.
$20 million on a $30 million season budget, they need to do very little in the first like
Yeah.
9 episodes to be able to afford that. So now I get it,
Yeah.
I'm a little more understanding of it.
Yeah,
But
they treat it like a suspension bridge, kind of.
yes, exactly.
In that, like, you have these high points to carry along these low points to, like, if it's essential, if a suspension bridge starts on one side and goes to the other, for those of you at home that didn't understand this weird reference that I just came up with off the cuff, the side you're starting on is episode 1. The side you're ending on is episode, in this case, 10. If there's 2 big fight scenes and you have to get through the whole entire season, you basically want to use them in the middling kind of spots. With the one kind of odd caveat here is you usually want to end on a high to get people back for the next season. So one of your kind of big moments is going to be the last episode or second, usually second to last, right?
Yeah.
Because like they would do middle and then they do second to last. Yeah. So to kind of carry along the weight of the season. So you have these like low moments that don't have a high point, and then you need to like kind of re-engage the audience, drive, Twitter traffic and all that, kind of gobbledygook. You need that like holy crap moment.
Yeah.
Which drives a lot of TV and like major blockbustery kind of movies.
Yeah. I did also realize with Game of Thrones as I'm rewatching it, it's like the first season was very like racially and gender biased, which I think they realized the error of their ways after the first season, because in the second season it changes a lot more. Like in the first season, like for the gender bias,
I wouldn't give them that much credit. I think it's just the book's pivot.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but they literally talked to George for like the first 5 seasons.
Yeah.
And that's the reason there's like such an insane change. Like you can like, without knowing which season you're on, you can feel the change between seasons in my experience. And like, from what I've talked to other people who are in our field talk about, it's just like, there is a like pin drop moment where it's like, oh, we're off book now. It's like, you can just like feel it like in the writing and the direction. But yeah, it is very interesting. I hadn't thought of that between season 1 and season 2. Like, I mean, do you see that as a woman in filmmaking? Do you see that as something that is like good to like set the, this is the world we're starting in and here's how we've changed it into the world that we are in now when you go to season 2? Or do you think it's almost better or like just more cohesive to start in, not that season 2 experience, but in that kind of realm where it starts off? Do you think it needs to start off in the old ways and go to the new ways? Or do you think you can just start it off in the new ways?
I think it definitely depends on like which aspect like we're referencing. Like if we're like, because you mentioned like being a woman in entertainment, I think something in that sense. I get what they were trying to do. Like,
okay,
in terms of the series, I get that at least from what I interpreted, it seemed like, yes, they were trying to show the old ways of women, not being in power, not being able to lead, or, just being kind of sort of objects. And then in season 2 is when they really switch that, or toward the end of season 1, when we see like Daenerys really come into her power and realize that like, when she goes into the fire and like, spoiler alert, but when
spoiler
she goes
for a
into
10-year-old show.
yeah. When she goes in the fire and like comes back alive, like, and then all the Dothraki who remained like bow to her. I think that's when we start to see, okay, they're now respecting women in this sense, but we still have a like lengthy history of them not. So I think the show kind of does build off of that. So I get their purpose in doing that. And in this show, I think it works, but I think they took too long to get to that. I think they could easily start off in episode 1, having more of the gender bias, and then it more drastically progresses throughout the first season rather than it waiting until the very end to show like a hint of any sort of female empowerment. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, You took both of my answers and made them better. Nice. Classic professional. What's your favorite, oh, I am normal moment that you've had over the course of your life?
Ooh. Uh, Good question.
Yay, I did it.
Um, I am normal.
Not so much I am normal, but I guess another way of looking at this is I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that experiences this. Like for me, I think one of them was I was trying for the longest time to do, I was trying to break into stand up and like do some like open mics and stuff like that. But the idea of talking on stage for me was just not even on stage, just like talking with more than 10 people intentionally listening and like looking at me was terrifying. Like, excuse me, folks, I need to run to the bathroom and shit my pants because I'm scared. And then I saw this interview with Bo Burnham where he talked about having panic attacks. And this
Mm,
is somebody who just seems effortless on stage. You know, he'd been doing this since he was super young. He's very musically gifted. And you've like, if you've seen any of his material, he's always just so in control and doesn't ever seem to have a problem with it.
yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, I like checked into a hospital. I saw a doctor. Like, he like canceled a show last minute or like, so, he
Wow.
had major difficulties because he was having panic attacks. And this was after years of doing it.
Yeah.
And it was like, what the hell? I was like, oh, no, this is just like, and then I looked more into this and there was a couple other comedians that like, I think it was Patton Oswalt was talking to Jim Gaffigan about like, he was having troubles and being like, yeah, like every time before I go on stage, I feel like, there's a rock in my chest. And
Wow.
like, it's just like barreling down this, um, this log ride until I get through it. And he's like, how did you get past that? Or did you ever have that? Like what's your secret? And Jim just looked at him and goes, no, that's me every time before a show. That doesn't go away. You just get better at getting over it or like, stomaching it or whatever. I don't quite remember how he said it, but it
Yeah.
was just like, oh, it's just like, no, this is like, it is normal to feel this way. So
Yeah.
I guess it's the better way to ask the question, perhaps.
Yeah. I think mine is probably, I didn't learn this probably till later on, but I have the tendency to like go places, whether it be like a networking event or like a club or a bar, and I'll be there for 5 minutes and be like, yeah, I'm content. I want to go home. Like, and I'm a pretty like
Oh yeah,
extroverted person. Like, I like socializing, but sometimes I'll be there for 2 minutes and be like, yep, I'm good. I want to go home. And I thought I was
yeah.
strange in that and like tried to like push past it and be like, well, I just got here, so I'm going to stay at least 30 minutes and that'll make it worth it. But I've been with friends and stuff before, and we've gone to like someone's house or whatnot, and like we kind of give each other that look, and I'm like, yeah, I want to go home. She's like, yeah, same. We can go. So
Do you think that's a sad kind of reality of being a woman in the United States during like the times that we live in and being in a major city and working in a field where you have power and are viewed kind of in an oblong fashion because of that? Or do you think that's just, it's weird and I'm bored and like let's get out of here? Or do you think it's like one of those like, spidey sense moments where you're like, something isn't quite right here?
um that's a good question. I'm not sure. I think it might be more so related to like a social anxiety type thing, like
Mm,
or like I would say like a social exhaustion. Like I think people
yeah.
have only have so much bandwidth to
Yeah.
socialize with people they don't know, and some people obviously have more than others. I think mine gets used up very quickly. So if I went out the night before or if I did
Yeah.
something that week, I may not have enough energy to do it again that week. So yeah,
Have you ever heard of spoon theory?
I have not.
So the kind of third grade version of it that I was passed along and that I've Googled, the spoon theory is basically everybody has X amount of fucks to give, depending upon which kind of department fucks drain you from. So for you,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like social exhaustion. My roommate who introduced this to me was actually just having conversations on the phone. He basically, like, because of working as IT support for an internet company,
Yeah.
it like exhausted super fast to the point where he would only make a phone call if her house was on fire. It was
Wow.
like, hey, do you want to call in? We're going to be like late for this, and can you secure our reservation? He would just look at me and be like, raise his shoulders and be like, okay, I guess I'm going to make this phone call right next to a cop on the highway.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully he doesn't look to the right. And so, like, for each person, you have X amount of, energy units depending upon category that you have
Mm-hmm.
to spend. And so, like, basically spending them not correctly, but just knowing how many you have to spend. And so it kind of sounds like for you, you have, X amount of, oh, I'm doing something social and, being around like plenty of people. Like you have, a finite number of spoons to, I don't know why it's spoons, by the way, but it is called spoon theory for sure. You can Google that. It's so bizarre. But
Yeah.
yeah, you have, and for me, it's kind of like, for me, it's using my willpower to make myself do things that I know I need to do to basically be an adult. I have like 3 spoons a day tops.
Oh
This is
wow.
like if I need to ship 4 things at 4 different places, one of them's wait until tomorrow
Yep.
because that fourth one's just not going to happen. And if I try to pretend like it's going to happen, I'm going to beat myself up about it like emotionally,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be like, "Oh man, why didn't you?" It's just like, no. Like, it's that old silly thing, know thyself and to thyself be true. It's just like, I'm not the kind of person that's going to make, 4 package deliveries. You're not the person that's going to go to like 3 parties in a night or, like whatever
Yeah.
like that. Like, it's like really important to like know that about yourself. And it's
Yeah.
really cool that, you figured that out. And it sounded like stopped blaming yourself for like feeling like stop blaming yourself for being in quotes weird when you're just being you.
Yeah. 100%.
That's awesome. Is there a moment that you look back in your life with just like joy in your chest or a glint of pride in your eye at having achieved that or experienced that moment?
Um, yeah, I'd probably say it would be the first internship I got on my own without like my school helping me or sending me something that someone was already in contact with or like my professor or anything like that. The first internship I got on my own was at Reese Witherspoon's production company, Hello Sunshine. And it was strictly based off of
Awesome.
like, yeah, my merit, and then how I responded in the interview, how I did coverage and like timeliness and stuff like that. So on it, like
That's
that's
so
probably
cool.
one of my most prideful moments. Yeah, yeah, that was great.
Yeah. No, that's definitely I haven't had one of that grandiose nature, but yeah, I totally know what you mean. When you've done something and it's on your own, you didn't, effectively it's like swimming without your parents holding you up or wearing water wings, right? You're just like,
Hmm.
I'm doing it. Like
Yeah.
I don't need this anymore. Not that, it's not cool to, do whatever, but it's like to know that you have that strength and like it kind it bolsters you, right?
Hmm.
That feeling of just like, yeah, like I am the shit. Like, what
Hmm.
up? It's-
Yeah.
all right. And lastly, before we throw it to a commercial break, if you could have the listeners of this podcast hear one song of your choosing, which would it be?
I would say that would be Power by Little Mix. It's definitely my anthem. If my life could have an anthem, that would be it.
It plays at the beginning of the show that is your life.
Yes.
And on this episode of Aaron, I don't know what Little Power by Little Mix sounds like because I haven't listened to it yet, but I will shortly after this.
Okay.
So then I'll get to make a better fake beginning of your life episode soundtrack. All right. And with that, we're going to throw it to our first break. Feel free to stick around and enjoy this totally real commercial, or take a minute to enjoy Power by Little Mix. Or if you wanted to hear a song from a previous episode, check out the playlist on Spotify, Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves podcast, Song Rex. It's a long title, I know. Don't worry, there's a link in the description. Either way, see you in a jiffy. Do you ever find yourself sitting around with an emptiness inside your soul or larger than preferred vacuous space? Would you like to change that? I thought so. Now introducing Stuff. For when you have nothing to do but important things. Stuff. For when you're lacking personality and intrigue. Stuff. When the world has taken a pickaxe-sized chunk out of your heart. Stuff. And if Stuff no longer fulfills these needs, please don't hesitate to look into our essence drain life-enhancing product, Addiction. And we are back. Aaron, what is the passion you have brought to our table today?
That passion would be working in film development.
Ooh, tell me more. Tell me more.
So over the course of the last year, actually, I've been working in film development for a couple different companies, and it's just been, honestly, it just gets better and better, I think, with each place I move to. I started at a Zero Gravity Management, which is a management and development company. So there I got to kind of see like the uh like talent representation side of things as well as the development side, because they do like Ozark and they've done The Accountant with Ben Affleck. So it was interesting to see a company that kind of like tries to merge these two different sides of the business into one. And then
Mm,
after that, I went to Valhalla Entertainment, which was kind of like my first taste of the what I really want to
the
do is
Nordic
work in like
experience.
kind of I mean I really love like sci-fi fantasy like driven content, especially if it's like YA.
Mm-hmm.
And Valhalla is known for The Walking Dead, which I didn't watch the original Walking Dead, but
Why? Hold on. Roll that back for our listeners at home, and I'll pretend I'm not one of them. YA.
oh yeah, so like young adult content. So anything like high school or like college-ish age would be YA content, young adult. So like if they're
Mm.
in high school or in college, that would kind of be it. So anything kind of like in that genre. So Valhalla's like claim to fame is the Walking Dead universe, which I was really into Fear the Walking Dead because I love like post-apocalyptic stuff that shows how like a pandemic started or like how the apocalypse started
Mm-hmm.
rather than just like throwing us into the world like 20 years after it's already happened or whatnot. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was cool. Like I think just development in general, like being able to like read scripts and like as an intern or like even development assistant, like being able to read something and be like, yeah, I don't think this would be good, and being able to have that power to kind of like pass on it or be like,
Mm.
wow, this is really, really good. Like, this should be made, and like recommending it to your bosses, and then it actually gets made is probably like the best
Nice.
feeling in the world. I have yet to experience that feeling, I will say.
I hear it's
But
amazing.
yeah, from what I understand, it's
You're like
really
a
great.
you're like a poor kid talking about like heroin or cocaine. You're like, I've never tried this stuff, but I hear it's tremendous.
Exactly. So I got to do that, and I think after Valhalla, I worked at Hello Sunshine, and that company is just so amazing. Honestly, like
I
the
mean, with a name like
content.
that, you kind of have to be, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like their content is like 100% female driven. They do not make anything starring a man or a boy. It has to be about a woman from a woman's perspective. She is the hero of her own journey, and like it's extremely empowering to see a company that's so successful and yet so small at doing something that is like changing the industry. So in that sense of development, like most of their, for those of you who don't know, like most film and entertainment companies create content that's maybe like I'd say a solid like 70% male driven, like both features and TV. And this is a company that's like, yeah, we're not making any of that. like at all,
Yeah.
which is really cool because it brings more representation of like all backgrounds of women as well. So that's really cool. Um, and then of
Is
course,
this the did is this the company that made Wild?
they
So
didn't
it's the
make
same.
Wild, but yes, Reese Witherspoon.
Okay,
Yeah. So we did right
I
now
know
on our
she starred in
roster.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right now on our roster is like Big Little Lies season 2, and then all of the morning show
Mm.
we've done. Um, and
Oh,
then
cool.
yeah, we have like 8 things in development right now as well, both features and TV series. So they're really like working fast to like put out quality content. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, and then I also got to go back to my passion of sci-fi, which I just finished my internship at Legendary Entertainment, which was that was cool. Like that was the first time I got to work for a
Sweet.
studio and see how like studio development works. So, um, being in the office and hearing about like different deals or like how production is going with like a certain network or like how actors are working, which actors we're choosing to hire, which directors are like good to hire, which ones are complicated, like just being a fly on the wall
Hmm.
in that level of development and that level of like creating a series is kind of crazy. Like it it just it's amazing. It doesn't happen every day,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's so cool. You're like sitting on the chair behind the Wizard of Oz as he makes the clinking, clattering colliginous of collective junk. Or I'm messing that up, but you get to see the show from behind the maker. That does sound like a treat.
yeah, 100%.
So when did you? We went to school together. For those of you that haven't picked up on the very subtle hints I've been dropping, and we've been talking about at CSUMB, Go Otters.
Yay.
When did you first get interested and exposed, and thought that you might follow this as a field?
Um, I mean, film in general, I've kind of been passionate about since I'd say right after, I mean, all my life. My parents are divorced. So, for those of you who know who have the weekend dads, I would spend my time with my dad on the weekends going to the movies. So that was always a thing for me. It was like the movies was a time of like entertainment to kind of like escape, to be able to see realities that you maybe dream of that you never thought could exist in this sense. So I've always been interested in film, but I
Hmm.
never thought it was a career. I thought, yeah, movies are just made. I never thought about the fact of like how they get made, who makes these things. And so
Yeah.
and plus I spent my whole life essentially studying music. So I just thought, that's probably where I'm going to end up after high school. But once high school kind of ended, I realized, yeah, I spent 18 years of my life doing music. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to learn what else I'm like talented at and what else I'm interested in. So I
Yeah.
got to undergrad at Monterey and spoke to the counselor because I came in as a bio major. And about a week and a half in, because I wanted to be a doctor at that point, week and a half into school, I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this isn't it. I don't want to go to school anymore for this. Like, I think it was when they told me that the passing rate for organic chem was 15%. And I was like, oh, so odds are I'm not in that 15%. I don't want
I
to have to
should
keep
not
taking
bet on this
things.
future that I am pursuing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's just not for me. So I went to go talk to the counselor and told her, like, I really like movies. I think I want to go into the film department. She was like, yeah, you'll never be able to get a job if you don't intern every single semester or every single summer while you're an undergrad. And so that mentality kind of freaked me out. And I was like, well, I need a job, I want to be able to like be successful in what I'm doing. And so I went
Yeah.
into journalism instead because I really like broadcasting and it still had that like TV aspect. So once I
Hmm.
went into that, I studied abroad for a year in London. I did journalism over there. And while I was over there, I had to do like kind of like a news broadcast on this like farmers market
Hmm.
type event in London. And it was during that I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. I don't want to go up and ask people questions because I don't care. Like if I don't
Yeah.
care, you're gonna be able to tell that I don't care in this
Yeah.
like in this news story. So I decided to like stick with my gut because during this whole time that I was studying abroad, I was still watching movies. Like I was going to the movies probably 5 times
Hmm.
a week to go see things. Like so I realized that like this is what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to go into. And I said fuck the counselor. I fuck what she said. Like if I'm passionate about this and I want to get a job, I will get a job. I'll be successful if that's what I want to do. So I switched
Yeah.
majors, and funny enough, it was Chris Carpenter emailing me and being like, "Yeah, we have a producing class like that's going to be open if you're interested in signing up." And I googled what a producer is, and I was like, "Yep, that's it. That's what I want to be." So
Found it.
yeah, it was that simple of me googling a job title and being like, "Yeah, that's it."
That's awesome. This is one of those like lightning bolt moments. You're like, oh, I found
Yep.
it.
Yeah, I've struggled my whole life to find it. And all of a sudden, all I had to do was Google it.
Is there a big misconception about your passion by the wider world, would you say?
Uh, yeah, I think in the sense of producing, most people don't know what a producer is or what we do. And then I think in the sense of film and entertainment, a lot of people really don't understand what goes into it, or the amount of work and time it takes to plan out every single aspect of it, and how many jobs are involved, how many people are involved in like making sure that this film or this series comes into fruition. So I think there's a lot of like
So
unknowing.
that latter one sounds like a small book to be unraveled. And I kind of hope and think that the first one is a little bit more of a atomic bite size that we can us uh, nunces at home can perceive. So why don't you break down what does a producer actually do?
So a producer, it's funny enough, but it's kind of complicated. But essentially, a producer is the person who gets each and every film made. Like we are the reason that things get made. So we are the ones who find the script. We love the script. We hire the writer to do rewrites if we want to, or if the script's ready to go, we find financing. That's like the biggest thing that we do is finding financing to even make this film. And then after we find financing, we hire a director. After we hire a director, we usually have to find a buyer. So that's usually either a studio or a network. And if it's a network, it goes straight to like whatever that platform is. So but that's if it's a series.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, so the main thing is like finding financing. After we find financing, we find the director, we hire the crew, we go location scouting, we help hire casting, we help shoot the entire thing. Like we oversee production of it being shot, we oversee post production of it being edited, and then it goes off into the theaters. And we still see it. We still, I guess, reap the benefits of the hard work for years after we have made that film as well.
All right, I'm gonna open this can of worms, and we'll see how this goes. What is your take on when like there's a lot of talking about it's kind of like the way sports fans talk about teams and like player decisions, like that kind of that couch captain who's
Hmm.
like, oh, they obviously should have done this play or that play. What do you make of it when kind of your idle and average kind of film nerd talks about decisions that look like they have like kind of production fingerprints on it, that it doesn't look like the director made the decision but it was more that the producers made the decision, whether either for recasting or dramatic changes
Hmm.
or inclusions? How does that kind of, is that one of those things that the public doesn't understand? Is that one of those that there are some producers that get to kind of involved in the creative process when it's kind of that's the director's wheelhouse, or is that a big misunderstanding?
Yeah, I definitely think that's a big misunderstanding. I mean, the producer is involved in absolutely everything. Every moment of a film's process, we're involved in. So, like, if there is a big creative decision, in the sense of like changing an actor or anything like that, that's not approved without us. You know, that like we are the ones who approve that. If a director wants to change an actor, we either have to try and figure out a way to solve that issue because we already paid that actor out for the season, or they're under contract where if we fire them, they still get their full salary. So we're kind of like the problem solver in on a feature as well. And I think that is a common misconception. That's why I love directors, but I think they get way too much credit. The fact that like
Hmm.
that's one of the biggest awards that go out at like all of these, you know, the Oscars and Academy Awards and whatnot. The like best director is one of the biggest thing. It they directors only do so much. Like it's the producers that do essentially everything. But that like, you know, we are literally involved in everything. So I think that's a misconception. And most producers
Hmm.
are creatively involved. I mean, you have some producers that are simply there for financing, but the actual like produced by credit that you get, like in order to be in like the producers guild and stuff, if you get that produced by credit, that means you were there from the ground up and you were the influential partner in making this film a success.
Do you think are there decisions that is it? I guess is it frequent that a producer overrides a director in your time being a fly on the wall? Have you seen that happen much or heard that talked about as if it's commonplace? Or is that one of those situations that you try to avoid it? You try to come to like a mutual kind of understanding? Or like, how does that kind of power dynamic work? Is it kind of a symbiotic relationship or is there like, they're working for us or we're working for them? Like, how does that kind of relationship kind of function in a, in a good setting?
Yeah, I think definitely the first thing is to try and solve all the issues. You know, we everyone's under contract, whether they're pay for play or pay or play, like they're under contract, and we lose a lot of money as because the president is, I mean, not the president, the producer is essentially a representation of the financiers or the buyer or the studio or whatnot. So in any sort of instance where we have a director that we have issues with, whether it's an actor we have issues with, whatnot, we want to try and solve the issue because if we end up having to replace them, which we have full power to do so in most instances, we will be losing a lot of money. So it needs to be a big
Mm-hmm.
reason that we are replacing that person. Like, I mean, we've seen or at least like people in entertainment, if you read the trades or anything like that, like Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, stuff like that, you'll see that they'll be like, oh, this actor was replaced 2 weeks into shooting with this new actor, or like this person was originally set to play, but then got replaced by this actor. And you know, like that is the producer's decision most of the time, I will say. Sometimes it's the studio's decision if like something happens, like, you know, something risque or like publicity wise, they did something that's just not a good image for the company. Then, you know, that'll end up being the studio's final decision. But yeah, the producer first and foremost tries to solve the problem because we don't want to lose that money that is already embedded in that contract with the director.
So the Green Hornet was just a shit show then.
Yeah, you
Because that one changed like I think they changed like multiple writers and multiple directors like multiple times or something like that.
yeah.
That one stands out as being like kind of bananas.
See, that's the thing too, though. Like with writers, it sucks, but it happens really, really often that you have to replace writers multiple times because, like, not every writer can do something successfully, even if you give them the idea. Like, there's a thing that they have
Mm.
called an open writing assignment in development when we're looking for people to staff a writer's room, and we'll give them a concept that we need you to figure out some sort of story about, like a girl loses her mom or something like that. You need to create a story and a season arc for that. And in that, you'll have maybe 5 writers have that assignment, and they'll all come up with very different ideologies and storylines and, series arcs for this one little concept. But they're all going to be completely different. No one's going to think of the exact same idea, and that's kind of with when you hire a writer to write out, for Green Hornet, for example. Like, the first one just may have not been catchy enough, so we have to hire another writer to work on it. And that usually happens too if we give them the assignment and they write it, and we do a lot of like what's it called, we do a lot of rewrites with that writer, and it's still just not getting to a good place. Then sometimes we're just like, okay, let's just start over, because writers are cheap. It's pretty cheap to hire a writer and like start over and do it again. Directors,
Trying to not be offended at that comment.
uh, they're more affordable than a director is, I will say.
Thank you. That's better. I'm a commodity to be purchased, not some trollop to be thrown on the street.
Yeah, but that's only if like the idea is coming from like the studio or the company. If the writer physically wrote their own spec script and sent it in, they're going to be the ones doing rewrites. And if they're not, they still get paid for that script, that original script. They're just going to bring on a second writer to help do like adjustments and whatnot. Yeah, so it's only when it's like the original idea isn't from the writer, it's from the company itself, that you have the writers being replaced over and over again.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, lastly, before we switch off of your awesome passion, do you have a favorite non-obvious aspect that most people don't even realize is part of like being a producer, that you'd like to kind of unmystify or let light onto for the public?
Let's see. I'd say probably maybe like having final say. I mean, I think I've kind of mentioned that already though, or like just being able to be a part of the film from beginning to end. I think that's the most unique aspect of being a producer, because there's no other role in film where you are there from script to screen, like literally every step of the way, and you have a say in everything at every step of the way.
True dat. That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. That's really cool. All right, moving from the cool and the tremendous, let's switch it over to the obnoxious and the, I don't know another word. What is your preposterous peeve?
Oh, so it's definitely when people stand on an escalator just like in the middle, blocking it. So like no one can walk on either side of them. They're just standing there. And like, it doesn't even matter if people behind you are in a rush. Like, it's just rude, like, and I think, especially.
So even if people aren't moving.
Yep.
If everybody is standing still, you should be slightly to the left or right so people can move by.
Yes. You need to stand on the right and walk on the left. This is like common law, like I think most major cities do this, but for some reason, people in LA just have not grasped this concept. So anytime you try and get on an escalator, if you're in a hurry, I shouldn't have to say, excuse me, first of all. Like, you should just know, like, don't stand in the way. So if people are in a rush, they can walk past you. And like, funny enough, I made a TikTok about this that ended up getting like 1.7 million views. And it's because people feel so strongly about this, and either they feel so strongly that you need to stand on the right and walk on the left. Like, people from New York were like, you will get pushed down the escalator in New York if you're not standing on the right-hand side. But then you have other people that are like, it says you're not supposed to walk on escalators. It's the law, which I've never seen this in my life. And then people that's like, why don't you just take the stairs? But it's like, you realize escalators are moving stairs, not everywhere is going to build another set of stairs like, on top of an escalator. That's not a thing. So that's my pet peeve.
So it kind of it sounds reminiscent of, for those of you that do like highway driving and aren't in LA, where it's just basically bumper to bumper all the time. If you are on in the left lane, you should be passing whoever's in the right lane, right? It's the
Yep,
same relative principle. It's like
same.
even if there's nobody behind you, you're still doing it wrong if you're in the left lane and you're not passing who's in the right lane. Otherwise, you should just accept that you are the beta to the person in front of you on the right lane's alpha. You know, it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
they're in front of you. That's fine. You don't have to have nobody in front of you. You just have to be like, you're just potentially like bogging down traffic because of your own like need to, be in the lead,
Yeah.
a la Mario Kart racing style. Like, yeah, it's so foolish. Did you notice this peeve before you moved to LA, or is this something that LA has kind of brought about and noticing for you?
Yeah, so I've lived in LA my whole life. I'm born and raised here. It was when
Oh, okay.
because I lived in London for a year and then I also lived in New York for 3 months. So it's like I realized these major cities have it right. You know, you're in a rush. You
Yeah.
should not be saying excuse me. I don't want to talk to every single person on the way down saying excuse me 25 times rather than just being able to like bypass. Because like in London, that's one of the biggest rules they teach you. Like besides like making sure you look to the right for cars, both right and
Yeah, as
left
opposed to the
instead of
left,
then
yeah.
left and right. And then you also learn you need to stand on the right of the escalator or you will get pushed out the way. People get so angry. And at first I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, why are they so mad? But I get it now. Like, it's just, it should be common law. Like, this is just a thing.
I do kind of love, as somebody who's been, I've been in England, like I spent a summer in England, and I totally have lots of friends from back there, and I totally know that mindset, and I respect, especially in this area, that mindset of, look, motherfucker, we got places to be,
Yeah.
just, do the right thing. It's not that you're like a bad person for doing this, you're just slowing people down, and that's rude.
Yeah.
So don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, we all got places to be. Apparently, you don't have a place to be as important as I do, so get out my way so I can be to my important place.
Exactly.
Do you think, since I wonder if this is a California thing, because I kind of get the impression that a lot of people in California have a kind of, not authority thing, but like a superiority complex, like
Mm-hmm.
mentally, where they like, I'm better than you. I don't like, I think people in New York and London don't think they're better than other people. I think they just think other people are shit.
Yeah.
And those sound like the same thing, but I think they're slightly different.
Yeah. I,
Because if people are shit, they deserve to get out of your way. But when you're the shit, people should wait for you to move out of their way,
yes.
which I feel like is the circumstance in LA. It's, people like, I'll get out of the way when I'm at the bottom. It's like, I want to be at places before that happens, so you
Yep.
need to move. And just like the idea of like unimportance at where they think they are, I feel like might have something to do with that.
Yeah. I definitely think there's a superiority complex. Don't know whether I have it or not. I feel like if anything, I've gotten rid of it.
Says the woman who doesn't ever say I'm sorry to people. I don't have a superiority complex. I'm never wrong.
You just gotta interpret it the right way, you know?
All right. And with that, we're going to head to our second ad break. But don't go anywhere, because when we get back, Aaron is going to enter the lightning round. See you in a minute. Have you ran out of new stuff to do, rendering your life wholly unsatisfying? Do you have too much time on hand and have no idea what to do with it? Or are you just plain over this existence and wish for a plane with more intrigue? Might I introduce you to Addiction? Addiction deals with all these problems and more. How to meet your significant other's parents and would rather not? Addiction. How to go to work for the third day in a row? Addiction. Rent? Why not? Addiction. Addiction cannot be held responsible for your choice of choosing to imbibe in addiction. Any and all life-destroying fallout as a result of addiction cannot be legally pinned on addiction. But you're more than welcome to try. And we are back. Aaron, are you ready to enter the lightning round?
Lightning round.
Yes, I am.
All right, put however much time it takes to bake this cookie on the clock. Aaron, is there a god?
Yes.
Shakira's voice in Danny DeVito's body or Danny DeVito's voice in Shakira's body?
Oh, Danny DeVito's voice in Shakira's body.
Have you ever paid more for a meal than you made in a week?
Yes.
You're having the best day of your life. What happens next? Another amazing thing or something terrible?
Probably terrible.
Would you rather give up cheese or naps?
Oh, cheese. I can't have cheese.
Are hot dogs sandwiches?
No.
No one's looking. Do you put the cart back or leave it in the parking lot?
Oh, just leave it in the parking lot. I used to do that. There's people for it.
If you had the power to see the future but couldn't change it, would you use it?
Yes.
Pineapple on pizza or fist fight?
Pineapple on pizza. It's very good. Fight me.
Kill the spider or get an adult?
Nope. Kill it right there and then, or else I'll lose it.
Is there a price for you to give up your passion forever?
Yes. There's always a price.
Kanye.
Yes.
Which one of your parents settled?
My mom. 100%.
Which do you max out first? Intelligence, charisma, or strength?
Ooh, probably intelligence.
Did you ever cheat on a test in school?
Yep.
Tacos or burritos?
Oh, tacos, hands down. Burritos are not that good.
I'm not gonna dignify that with a response. Are we alone in the universe?
No.
Would you rather have your inner monologue sound like Gilbert Gottfried or Fran Drescher?
Oh, Fran. I love her voice.
Are Cheez-Its addicting?
No.
Lions, tigers, or bears?
Ooh, definitely tigers. Lions are lazy.
Would you rather be 10 minutes late for everything or 20 minutes early for everything?
Probably 20 minutes, just because of my job.
Are you happy with your life right now?
100%.
Make the food or do the dishes?
Make the food. I don't like cleaning.
Is Marvel is Marvel overrated?
No, I don't think so. They're smart. They're very intelligent in the way they do things.
Do you call it a baritone or a euphonium?
Baritone.
Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Oh, that's so cute. Probably, oh, I love ducks. Maybe duck-sized horses.
Could you eat 37 of your favorite food for $5,000 in a 1 hour time limit?
Yes, 100%. Where do I start? Where do I sign up? I can do this.
What is the food?
Oh, maybe tacos. French fries? Tacos. Let's do tacos.
I feel like French fries is cheating.
Yeah.
Either way, congratulations. You've survived.
The lightning round.
What lightning round question would you like to ask me and in turn be asked of future guests?
Would your 16-year-old self be proud of who you are today?
No,
Oh,
not at all. Also, my 16-year-old self was an idiot, so I don't think I don't hold that against him. He thought I'd be a movie star or a SEAL by now,
oh,
and not the kind, more like the bang bang pew pew kind.
oh,
So
that's cool.
yeah, but my 16-year-old self was a moron. So there's that.
Oh,
Anyway, anything you want to plug, recommend, places people can find you or your content?
yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at emazingaaron, like amazing, but emazingaaron. Um, yeah, favorite movie is Interstellar. If you haven't seen it, it's life-changing. I think it's groundbreaking. I think best post-apocalyptic film is Greenland. Don't at me. It is hands down one of the best and most questions answered in an end of the world film, and every other end of the world film leaves you asking like, but that doesn't make sense, or like, but why didn't they do this, but then they could have gone here and whatnot. And Greenland didn't leave you with any of those questions, which is why it's good. I'm weird on Gerard Butler, but you know who's very good in that film. uh, um and then greatest show of all time, or one of the greatest shows of all time, is probably Jane the Virgin. And I think that's also an underrated thing. It's like that show probably brought people like, or American type people, to telenovelas and showed them that like this is an entertaining side of content. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, Jane the Virgin is great. It's groundbreaking. I love Gina Rodriguez. I think she's extremely talented. Yeah, and yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Aaron, for being my guest today. And special thanks to my editor, Richard Ashford, and my composer, Joshua Gibbons. And especially thank you, everybody listening at home or wherever you found time to appreciate this. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, or just share it with a friend. Every little bit helps. Or if you already have and are out of episodes to listen to, don't worry. We put out a new episode every Monday at midnight on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Spotify at Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And a very special thanks are due to our first Patreon patron, Sabella Yellow. Yes, you heard that right. We have a Patreon, and you can be a part of it too. Just head over to patreon.com/Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And remember, folks, the floor is hard, hugs are firm, blankets are soft, and I want to take a nap. So, laters.